Hello everyone, today I'm at Port Canaveral in Orlando, Florida, and I'm just about to board the Norwegian Getaway, which is docked right here at the terminal. And it's pretty busy here today. There's about 4,000 other people who are also going to be boarding the Getaway this afternoon. And this is my first time at Port Canaveral, and it's a fairly large port. I just got off one of the airport buses, which might not be able to really see it from here, but they're parked at the very end of the terminal, and they have several other cruise ships docked here as well. There's one in the distance way down there, and you can't really see the other two that are docked behind the Getaway. There's a Disney cruise boat that's just right behind this one. And anyhow, getting back to the Norwegian Getaway, this boat was completed on January 10th, 2014, and was built in Papenburg, Germany. And at the time it was built, this was the 9th largest cruise ship in the world, and it is 1,068 feet long with a capacity for 3,969 passengers and 1,640 crew members. So this boat being 9 years old, I actually would have guessed it's a little bit older, just because after seeing some of the other boats in this area, like the Disney boat, which is of course right behind this one, can't see it from here, but it does look I don't know, maybe twice its age. I guess some boats don't age as well, but we'll have to see how it looks inside. And it's supposed to be a fairly nice boat once you get inside. The Getaway has 18 decks, dozens of restaurants, a theater for nightly live performances, a casino, and pretty much every other cruise amenity that's available in the industry. And just going to be boarding here shortly. And I'm now inside of the terminal building, and this looks to be pretty similar to the security at an airport. You just pass through these metal detectors, and thankfully the line doesn't look to be too long, so I should be able to get through here pretty quickly. And hello again everyone, I am now aboard the Norwegian Getaway, and we are just getting started on our trip here, just leaving the Port Canaveral. And there was a little bit of a delay this afternoon. It took them a bit longer than usual to get the rooms prepared, so people were just kind of waiting out on deck, and also down below in the pool area here, while the crew members were preparing the rooms and basically just getting everything cleaned up from the last cruise. And so basically this boat just got here this morning, so it just got here, I believe, around 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning. And the people from that cruise had to disembark, and once that happened, then the crew members, they only have so much time to clean the rooms and prepare for this cruise here, our cruise. So there's a pretty quick turnaround. They only have basically I guess 8-9 hours to get everything all ready. Anyhow, they got everything ready, and we are just leaving the port, and just pulling out of the Port Canaveral here. And that ship there off to the right, I believe that is a Coast Guard ship. And just trying to see if I could find the space center, the space shuttle center. I believe that is it in the distance there. Not sure if you can see that. I believe that is Cape Canaveral, where they launched the space shuttle from. And looks like we're just about almost out of the port here, maybe another I don't know, a couple hundred feet to go. Hello everyone, today is day 5 of our cruise, and I'm just on the upper deck here where the swimming pool and aqua park water slide is. And just spent the last couple days just kind of exploring the ship, and I'm just going to take everyone on a quick tour here. And this deck right here that I'm on, so this is deck 16, and this is where they have it's more of a sun deck, and it's kind of late afternoon right now, so they're just putting away all of these lounge chairs, and then where the swimming pools are and all that, that would be deck 15. And this is a pretty typical late afternoon for the ship. And it's also kind of interesting that just looking out on the ocean, it's pretty much like this almost every day, where there's just no one else out here. It's basically just us. And just going to walk up to this next deck. This is 17, and they have a climbing wall and a basketball court up here. It's a little bit breezy, and it's kind of noisy with the exhaust system. This thing right here would be the exhaust of the ship, and directly ahead, that's the climbing wall that they have, and further in the back, that would be the basketball court. And also, I just thought I would go over what I like about the cruise so far, and some of the things that I don't like. And overall, there's probably more things that I do like, and it's been a enjoyable cruise so far the last 5 days. And as I go, I'll just try to point out as much of the stuff as I can. They also have a restaurant here. I believe this is the American Cafe restaurant, and it looks to be closed right now. And across the way, this is a arcade.
I'm not cut out for that anymore. Okay. I'm not cut out for this anymore.
And this would be the aft of the ship, the furthest back. And here they have a kind of like a movie theater area set up out here.
We have to keep going.
And
let's see what's on the other side of that door.
What if there isn't anything?
They also have a bar area there as well. And I believe there's a second movie theater area downstairs too, so you got a lot of movie watching options on this ship. And just going to walk down below to the next level. And I usually take the stairs, even though they do have elevators, but being that it's about 7 o'clock right now, the elevators probably will be a little bit busy. Here's the one bank of elevators that they have, and there's 8 elevators for each bank. So I believe total the ship has 16 elevators. And this is the buffet. And this buffet is included in the price for everyone, though they do have some restaurants that are extra, and it kind of varies based on the package that you get. If you just have the basic package, it might just be the buffet, but they always have pretty good food. There's some pizza there, and all these different stations. Here's some cheese and salamis, and this is the beverages. And that's one thing that I like about this buffet is that they actually have milk here, whereas a lot of the other buffets do not. And continuing on, here's a crepe station for desserts. And this side looks to be mostly closed off, but there's a lot more restaurants down below. Decks, I believe 7 and 8 have most of the restaurants. And then this area here is just more seating for the buffet. And it looks like all these stations here are closed as well. So I might have to hurry up and come back here and eat before they close everything. The buffet is actually open until about 9 o'clock, I believe. But the thing with that is since we're traveling east, you lose an hour just about every day. So you gotta kind of keep that in mind. Like, you think it's 9 o'clock, but it's actually like 11 or even midnight or something, because you just got to keep setting your clock forward as you go. And this is deck 15 here, and this was the water park that we saw up above when we started. And this would be more of the pool and spa, and they also have these lounge chairs here, which during the day would be set up. And just going inside, and here they have a spa and a salon, so you could also get your hair cut too if you so desire that. And here is a gymnasium, and this is a fitness center here. They got these exercise bikes, and this is the fitness, and this is a salon and a spa, so you could get your hair cut here. And I believe a haircut for men is $45. Not really that bad, considering that we're kind of in the middle of nowhere, and if you really need a haircut, that's actually not that bad of a price. And then there's a second bank of elevators that they have over here. So each of these banks, they have 8 elevators. And then each floor has a map here, so you know what's on every floor. And this is 15, so it has the garden cafe and some of the shopping. But I usually just use the stairs just simply because even though there's 16 elevators on here, they're usually pretty busy, especially during dinner time. And this is deck 14, and kind of the same thing with the elevators and the maps. But this deck is different in that this is where the rooms pretty much start, and each hallway pretty much looks the same, just hallways with rooms on 1 or 2 sides. And I'm actually staying on the next deck, or actually I'm staying on 12, so this is 13. And basically the same thing with this deck here. This is just old rooms.
I'm full.
And this is deck 12, and I believe this is the daycare. It's called Splash Academy, and I believe that's the child daycare. And that is one thing that is different about this ship as compared to others I've been on, is there's a lot more kids, and that could be because they have specials where kids sail free. So that's something to keep in mind. Overall, it hasn't been really a problem yet, but I could kind of see if you're like a lot older, you know, you're like a 90-year-old person that, you know, you don't want to be around like a large group of like kids jumping and screaming. Anyhow, this is my room. Get the lights on. It's a little bit messy here, but it's a good sized room for one person. They basically just put these two twin beds together, and somehow they can fit like 3 or 4 people in here, because the beds on top, those just fold down, and it has a little closet. And surprisingly, my clothes actually dry. Even out here, I wasn't really expecting that to work. And there's a little TV, so they keep the air conditioning on all the time. And then here is the bathroom. It's actually a good size bathroom considering how small the room is. And they even have this clothesline set up so you could do some laundry and save a little bit of money. And continuing on with our tour, back at the child daycare slash Splash Academy on deck 12, and just going to take the stairs again. And basically the restaurants start at deck 8, so I have a little bit of a walk, and pretty much all these other floors are basically the same, where just long hallways with rooms on both sides of them. Go ahead. No, I'm fine. I'm fine. You won't be in it. That's okay. Anyhow, continuing on, and this would be deck 10, and 10 is pretty much the same as all the others. I guess it's not really necessary to look down every hallway, but just to show you what deck 10 hallway looks like. Pretty much all the same until we get down to 8. And so this is a pretty big ship. And also what's different about this ship as compared to others is I believe there's 3,900 people on the Getaway right now, and this is deck 8, and this is where the restaurants start. But this ship has quite a few more people than most of the others I've been on, such as the Queen Mary or the Rotterdam. 3,900 people. It can get pretty busy in here. And then this is one of the restaurants called La Cucina, and I believe this is a Italian restaurant. And some of these restaurants are included with your fare, and some are not. It really depends on what kind of food and beverage package that you have. And it's kind of interesting how they do all this as well, the different packages. For example, I have what I would consider a mid-level package, but I still have to pay extra for bottled water, though if I wanted to, I could literally drink at the bar all day for free. There's no charge for just mid-level liquor like Coors Light, Bud Light. That's all free and included with the drink and beverage package. And this is just one more bar they have. This one's called Sugarcane Mojito Bar, and they just have a couple of restaurants up here, and then there's some shopping. And I actually did a little bit of shopping on the ship when I forgot to bring my shaving razors with me, and they are rather expensive, so don't forget to just bring your basic essentials, because a shaving razor here is like $25 each, and most of those stores back there were pretty high-end stuff, high-end watches, jewelry, sunglasses. And then here's two more restaurants, a Moderno and a Cagney's Steakhouse. And I actually ate at Moderno's. It's a Spanish themed steakhouse, and then they have a Cagney's Steakhouse here. And so basically the meal plan that I have, it lets me eat at 2 different restaurants for the entire trip, and that's included. But I could also eat at the buffet all that I want. And they also have a sports bar. I believe that's on deck 7 or deck 6, and you can eat there all you want. So I think maybe 2 or 3 of the restaurants you could eat all you want, eat there all you want, and then the other restaurants are very limited with the dining package I have. And so I'm just at the mid-level package. I guess I could just tell everyone my fare was like $900. So I still think it's a good deal. And anyhow, so this is still deck 8. And what's kind of neat here is they have this outdoor area, and here's a little gelato shop. And some of these places are extra, like this says 1 scoop is $2.75. And I'm not sure if that's included in my dining package. It probably is not. I'm just gonna take a guess. But then there's other restaurants that are, I think total I could basically eat at 3 or 4 of these restaurants for free, and you can eat as much as you want. And this is the Moderno Steakhouse, and it looks like they're just getting ready for dinner. I'm surprised it's this empty, being that it's about 7. And basically, once you use up the dining credits, it does get a little expensive to eat at those other restaurants. I believe it would be, if I didn't have the dining credit, it would probably be about at least $100 per person. And this is the very aft or back of the ship here, and you would have a good view from inside. This is where the steakhouse restaurants were, and there's what the wake of the ship looks like. And actually we're still moving pretty good. It feels like we've slowed down a little bit though, but we're still going pretty fast here. And what's interesting, as I said before, how lonely it gets out here, that we're usually all by ourselves, but there's actually this little sailboat out here, and I really don't know what the closest island would be, because we left the Bahamas about 3 days ago. So I don't know what this guy is doing out here. He's just out in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, basically. This is just a shipping lane, and every once in a while we might see like a container ship, or you know, or whatnot, like maybe a tanker ship. But this is the first time that I've seen like just a little sailboat out in the middle of the Atlantic. And then the other restaurants, they also have the outdoor seating here as well. And this just continues basically all the way to the front of the ship. Though what's different about this ship is that you can't really use this as a jogging track because it doesn't go all the way around. It stops about 3/4 of the way. And I'm not really sure why they did that, but that's just basically how it is, because it seems like it would make a lot more sense if they could use this as a jogging track. And this is one more of the restaurants here. This is called Ocean Blue, and this restaurant's always pretty busy here. It's a seafood restaurant. And then some of these other businesses are just bars. And even a basic drink package is actually pretty good, because you could just sit here and drink all day. Drink everything except bottled water, basically. And I'm not really sure why they do that, because it can't be free to drink beer or hard liquor all day, but that's just how they do things. And there's that little sailboat out there. And they even have this giant chessboard set up. Let's see if I get a better view of that. There's the chessboard. And now going back inside, still on deck 8. And I'm now on deck number 7, and they have more restaurants, and also they have a theater here as well. And this is actually a pretty big theater. I would say they could probably seat about maybe 400 or 500 people. And it looks like they have a performance going on now. See if I could just drop in here. And I'm not sure who that is that's performing. Let's see if it says so up here in the box office. And I'm not seeing anything, but there is somebody there performing, and they kind of have some interesting shows. I did go to one the other day about the Titanic, and they also had a language class on Portuguese, and I thought that was interesting. So you know, there's other activities to do here besides just drink all day. And here's the sports bar. This is Sheehan's Sports Bar, and my food package lets me eat there. You pretty much eat there all day because it's open 24 hours. And that was the casino that we just walked through, and that pretty much takes up, I would say, about half of the 7th floor deck. So people must like to gamble if the casino is that large. And this is another restaurant here. And they also have a outdoor deck area for this as well. And I believe they just have the lifeboats out here. And here's what a lifeboat looks like, and it says 305 persons per lifeboat. And I believe they have about 20 of them. So there's room for approximately 6,000 people. And I know I said earlier that there were 3,900 passengers, but you also have to keep in mind that there's about 1,500 crew members. So altogether there's at least 5,500 people right now on here. So that is quite a lot of people. Even if you were to compare this to a large hotel, it's a very large hotel. And this is a little model of the cruise ship, and it looks like they have some cruise memorabilia. And here's another elevator bank. We are now on deck 6. But yeah, so this ship, it has a lot of people on it. Total at least 5,500 people. And I would say of that, probably about maybe 400 or 500 of those are children. And anyhow, getting back to the tour, this is the art studio that they have, and I believe all of these paintings here are for sale. So if you want to buy a painting, you could do that here. And these just have more restaurants here. This is a French restaurant called the Bistro. And then I just want to get a view of this atrium area. And this is pretty neat how they have this. This is a 3-story atrium here. And pretty much the 2 decks up above, that would be 7 and 8. So that's the casino right there. And then deck 8. So all 3 of these decks are pretty much where the restaurants and the shopping is. And there's also, let's see, there's another TV lounge and bar up here, as well as a check-in area. This would be the TV lounge, and this is another atrium area here where it opens up into the deck up above, deck 7. And there is the guest services and the main check-in for the cruise. Looks like they have more photography people, and then they have shore excursions and a cruise consultant there. And here's the other bank of elevators. And you could also go outside from this area as well, or at least I think you can. This is Illusium, and I'm not sure what is going on here. I think it's just like a little museum that they have, has all these kind of vintage artifacts and I don't know, old kind of historical pieces, old camera, and then looks like this is another showroom that they have here. And this one's quite a bit smaller than the other theater that's directly up above upstairs, but looks like they're gonna have a show here. And back into the collectible area here, and I really don't know, like, some of the stuff is just kind of strange what they have. I really don't know what this is about. And actually, I might have been wrong about that you can get out from this area. I think it's just nope, can't get out. This just takes us back to the check-in, guest check-in, but the only other floor you can exit the ship basically is 7 and above, because this deck here, you could basically just have these windows here, so there's really nothing else out there. And it's like it's a little bit wavy. Waves are kind of picking up today. And as far as what's below here, I don't think there's a whole lot. It might just be more guest rooms. And I think they have kind of like a hospital down below. Let's go check this out here. And this is deck 5. It says forward, so we're near the front. And then this is, so we're back at the elevator bank, and here's the medical center. And this is like their hospital, but it's actually quite bigger than it looks. It takes up like a pretty big part of deck 5 that we're on here. And these are just more staterooms, and it's pretty similar to the rest of the staterooms that we saw up above. And doesn't look like they want us to go any further than this. I believe down below is the crew quarters. So basically, I guess you would call it decks 1 through 4 would be for the crew, and 5 and above are for everyone else. And it is now day 2 of our cruise, and we just stopped here off of one of the islands in the Bahamas, and this island is called the Great Stirrup Cay, and it's actually owned by this cruise ship company, the Norwegian Cruises, and they purchased this little island here from the Belcher Oil Corporation in the 1970s. And from what I know, Belcher Oil used this as a corporate retreat, and now the island is being used as a tourist spot just for Norwegian cruises. And I'm not really sure if I'm going to be able to take a quick tour of the island today, just because it's been raining so much. It cleared out a little bit, but it's kind of already starting to rain right now. And what's interesting is on the other side of the ship here, there's a second island, and this one is owned by the Carnival Cruise Lines, and I believe that's one of the Carnival ships right there. and that island is called Little Stirrup Cay. And these islands have a interesting history. They were used by the Confederates during the Civil War as a stop-off point to ship cotton to Europe, and before that they were known pirate hideouts, and their history actually dates even further back than that. There were known settlers here as early as 600 AD, so that's about 2,600 years ago. People were living on these islands. I am now on one of the tenders going to the Great Stirrup Cay Island, and we're just pulling away from the ship here. And what's interesting is this little tender, you could really feel the waves of the ocean, but look how steady the main ship is. It's hardly even moving at all, whereas we're kind of going up and down, side to side, and it's hardly, not too much waves. Not sure if you can see that. I am now on the Great Stirrup Cay Island, having just taken one of these ferry boats from the Norwegian Getaway, and it looks like they're just loading this one to have these people go back to the ship, which is anchored maybe a quarter mile from here. It's just a quick 2-3 minute ferry ride, and this is the main entrance to the island, and I'm just going to walk around here and explore a little bit. And here's this beach that we saw earlier from the Getaway, which is parked directly ahead, and they have all these lounge chairs set up right here on the beach. And this is a very nice little tropical island, complete with sandy beaches and pretty much crystal clear blue waters and palm trees. And they even have several restaurants just right here on the beach. And this one here is called Bacardi, and that's probably actually a bar, but there are several other shops and restaurants which appear to be closed today. It could be because we're getting rained out a little bit. And here's this lighthouse here, and that says Great Stirrup Cay on it. And they also have more of these lounge chairs set up on this side too, so there's room here for hundreds of people. At least 300-400 people could lounge out on this beach. And off in the distance, that would be the other island of Little Stirrup Cay, and there's one of the Carnival cruise ships just anchored out there. And they even have these surfboards that you can rent from the beach, just right over there, and you could go out and swim on this beach. And if it wasn't for the rain, it would be pretty nice to take a swim out here. And I believe if you're just getting off the cruise ship, there's no charge to rent one of those boards. And overall, it was definitely worthwhile to brave the little bit of rain and drizzle that we're getting to come here and check this out. Hello again, everyone. Today is day 8 of our cruise, and we just stopped in at the city of Ponta Delgada, which is on the Portuguese island of Suitcase. And this is the Norwegian Getaway, just parked here at the dock. And they have this really nice port harbor area right here, and they have all these sailboats out here today. It's a little bit breezy, but except for that, it's a pretty nice June day. And I'm just going to be giving a quick tour here of the city of Ponta Delgada, and just have a few buildings marked off on my map. And the building directly across the street, that would be a Catholic church. And surprisingly, there's quite a few Catholic church buildings in this city, and this street here would appear to be the main boulevard for the city as far as I can tell, and it is a little bit busy today. And just to give some background information on the island, Suitcase is located approximately 900 miles from the mainland of Portugal, so we are pretty far out here, and the island has approximately 140,000 people living on it, and about half of those people, or 68,000, live right here in the city of Ponta Delgada. And right in this area here, there's a lot of shops, restaurants, and hotels as well. And some of these hotels are rather expensive, such as this hotel across the street. This is the Hotel Gavada, and it's showing up online as a 4-star hotel, and one night there's approximately $291. And the building directly behind that, I believe, is a condo or apartment building that is not part of the hotel. And just right in this area here, it's kind of a mix of older buildings and maybe a little bit newer ones, like that building next to the Hotel Gavada does look a little bit older, or maybe just not as well kept, whereas the condo building behind there looks to be a bit newer. And that is probably really the only high-rise building in this city. It's probably at least 15, maybe 20 stories tall. And then across the street they would have a really good view of this harbor area here. And there again is the Norwegian Getaway. And it looks like they have some restaurants across the street. I'll have to go check these out. That one is called Three Senditos Pizzeria. Let me see if I could just cross the street up here at one of these crosswalks. And I'm now across the street, and I wasn't really sure how often the cars will stop for you, but they eventually will. And here's this pizzeria. And don't really see a menu in there. It looks like it's more of a sit-down pizzeria restaurant. And sometimes it's just faster just to look it up online. Not really sure why that is, but anyhow, just pulling up my phone here. They do have a menu online, and it looks like a personal margarita pizza is $14. And here's this business next door, and there's quite a few businesses like this where not really boarded up, but it's just kind of closed off, and not really sure what's going on, if that's maybe because it never came back because of COVID or whatnot. But you do see some of that, just vacant storefronts here. And here's another restaurant. This one is called Salato, and a salad with 3 ingredients is 6.5 euros, so that would be about $7. And just a little bit more background on the island. It is approximately 280 square miles in size, or it's about 40 miles long and 3 miles wide. And this looks like a Hyundai car dealership in there. That's kind of Unusual how they have that. Let me see if I can look in here a little bit. There's a dealership that's closed today, and here's a shoe store. So at 280 square miles, that is kind of big for an island, and it's about 40 miles long and 3 miles wide. And the island was founded in 1427, and it's been a Portuguese colony ever since. And here's another business across the street, and this is called the Neat Hotel. Let me look this up here on my trusty phone. That is showing up as a 3-star hotel, and a room there for one night is $130. So the price of the hotels go down quite a bit if you don't mind not having a ocean view. But this hotel, though it might not have the view, it does look quite a bit newer. Anyhow, continuing on, and here's a real estate office, and they actually have quite a few of these out here, and it's kind of interesting. You can get some pretty cheap places here. Like this one is 35,000 euros for that apartment. Looks like it's kind of falling down though, pretty bad shape. And there's one for 78,000, and the prices go up from there. And that's basically like the situation with the hotels. I would say the average here, from what I could tell for tonight, and we're in early June right now, it's about $200 per night, and that is a bit more than I thought it would be. And here's a nice little street here, and they even have a supermarket. Let's go check this out here. And here are some fruits, and these prices are by the kilo, and that's €1.25 for that per kilo for the oranges, and the apples are 1.9 euros per kilo. And here's some personal pizzas, 3 euros. And there's some chicken wings. A pack of those is, it's about 4.6 euros. And got some more vegetables here, some dairy. It's like 6-pack of yogurt. It's about 3 euros. There's a 6-pack of eggs, 1.5 euros. And some frozen vegetables, 0.75 euros. Pack of French fries, 5-pound pack, about 6 euros for that. And didn't look like they had any milk back there. So they got a lot of canned stuff here. And looks like dog food. 16 euros for that big bag of dog food. And here's some canned food. There's some sardines, about €1 for the sardines. And potato chips, popcorn, 1.2 euros. Some bottled water is pretty cheap, about 40 cents for the water. Then it goes into the wine, and there's some yogurts, about $3 for that 6-pack of yogurt. I don't see any milk in here. And this looks like this leads to a sandwich shop here. Let's see what kind of sandwiches they have. Cheese sandwich with latte is 2.2 euros. Anyhow, continuing on. And here's a little coffee shop here. Cappuccino there is 2.5 euros. And a lot of these buildings are really quite old, like this one here. Looks like they're doing some work on it. And it has new doors. Those look like those are doors. But hopefully those ledges will hold up. I don't really see anything holding them up from the bottom other than just they're just kind of wedged in there. But looks like they're doing some work on this, and this one looks like they're just putting some tile on the exterior of it. And then they have the ground floor just boarded up. Anyhow, continuing on, this looks like a pharmacy. It's called Wells. But overall, this is a very charming little town here for a town with 68,000 people. I was surprised with all the car traffic. I wasn't expecting so many cars. I was expecting it to be more like this, where basically more people are just walking around as opposed to driving everywhere. And I really don't see where everyone parks. It's a little bit of a mystery. Anyhow, neat old buildings, and it's also interesting too how the layout of these old cities still works. Like they have the businesses on the bottom and the apartments on the top. And here's another real estate office here. Let's see, so these prices also vary quite a bit. There's apartments ranging from 89,000 all the way up to about 400,000 or 400,000 euros. So that's about $500,000. And looks like we haven't gone too far. There's the port area right there. And this opens up into a courtyard. And here's another Catholic church. This building right in the center. That's a neat clock tower that they have up there. And the clock says it is 5 minutes past 4 o'clock. And this looks interesting over here. This guy is selling these pineapple drinks. Let me see what these are. These are pina coladas, and they're 10 euros each, and it looks like the 10 euro one is non-alcoholic, and then they have a 12 euro drink which is alcoholic. And here's this Catholic church building, and this here, let me look this up because this is such an interesting looking building. Just going off of the information on the map, it's listed as a 16th century Catholic church. So this building here is about 500 years old. And so a lot of those other apartments that I was looking at, like the ones that were kind of falling down for 38,000, they are also probably really old, but just not as well kept as as this building is here. That's a very neat building, and today is Sunday. I wonder if they have church service today. Of course it is afternoon, but it looks like it's mostly closed right now. And those are some heavy-duty bars they got on that window. I'm not sure if at one time if they needed all that. And here's another little street coming up here. And this looks like a bank right on the corner here, the Millennium Bank. And that building over there, Cafe Central, but it looks closed. And here's a handicrafts and souvenirs shop. So you could buy your postcards of Sue Miel. And here's another nice little quiet street. Lots of shops, and it looks like they have a restaurant over here. This is Louvre Michaelens, and let me see, it looks like maybe it's kind of closed for maybe it just will open up for dinner. And let me check online here, see what their menu is. You can get a pan-seared barracuda for $18 with octopus rice, or you can get a dry-aged steak, fried polenta, and caramelized onion for $20 there. So that's an interesting menu. And looks like they have some more shops here. This looks like a household goods shop, some towels, and across a bee shop. And looks like that's a bee shop of London. Here they got some prices on their shoes, 30-40 euros each. Here's a bathing suit, Sayonara bathing suits. I guess it's always good weather for bathing suits here. It's pretty much a pretty mild climate, temperatures 60s and 70s throughout the summer, and it really doesn't even cool down that much here, even in the winter. Maybe 50s, 60s for highs in the winter. And here's another gift shop. So still in a very touristy area here, and I'm not really sure how far I'd have to go from here to kind of see how the average person around here lives. This still seems, with all these gift shops, this is all for tourists. And this looks kind of interesting here. That also looks like a very old building, and it looks like they're doing construction on this, and not sure if they're gonna just rebuild what's there. Let me see. Can't really tell with all the fencing, but then this one across the street looks interesting. That one's even got some plants growing up on the roof. Let me see if I get a look at that. Looks like they got some scaffolding set up there on the side of that building, and looks like they tore down whatever was there. But that's a interesting roof, the building across the street. It's got some plants growing up on it, and then the one next to it looks like it's kind of tarped off. And that kind of answers my question, if these roofs leak. And my guess is this one probably does, but that is just a guess. And maybe I'll just walk back down this street here. It's a lot easier to go sideways than up these streets, just a lot less exercise. And this is a Frutara store, and of course all these stores are closed because it's Sunday today, but it looks like basically just apples and oranges and basically just what they have in the display. Some pineapples. Here's a women's dress clothing store. Oh, here's a Remax. They just got all of these real estate offices pretty much everywhere around here. And let's see what they have for sale. These are some pretty expensive homes here. This one, 1.2 million euros. And there's another million plus euro house. So certainly some expensive real estate here. And that's a very colorful building. It's called Artisanto. And see if I could cross the street and check this out. I'm not sure if that's just a flower shop. Looks to be mostly just souvenirs, plates and dishes and stuff like that. And here's another clothing store. And then this building here, this looks like another church, but it's not showing up on my map. And that looks like a very old building. And up there on the top, it says it looks like 15 something. At least that looks like a 15. So that one might have been built in the 1500s, and it doesn't look like it's in use today. And here's another swim shop, followed by more clothing stores across the street. Lanador Clothing. Even these side streets can get rather busy. And that looks to be just a women's clothing store. And you can still see the port area from this alley here, so we didn't go too far yet. Here's an Indian restaurant, but it does look closed today. And then this business across the street looks interesting. It's called Portugal Nice Things. And as best I can tell, looks like a women's clothing store. And there's a pharmacy. And this could be a supermarket, or looks like they have some wines and cat food. I guess it's more. And then I also have some frying pans. I guess that'd be more of a general store. And here's another one that's just kind of closed and not really boarded up, but they just got the coverings on the windows there. And I'm not sure if there's anyone living upstairs. That looks empty. here's another real estate office. That would be, I believe, the third real estate office. So Berkshire Hathaway. And they have those pretty much everywhere. At least in the US they do. Wasn't expecting to see so many Coldwell Bankers and Berkshire Hathaways here. And this looks like a little bit newer of a building. And this is showing up as a courthouse. And of course there's some graffiti there right by the courthouse. And anyhow, this looks like a good place to end the tour. And even in Portugal, the courthouses get damaged. Looks like they have a at least one busted out window there. And this would be the main entrance to the building with, looks like they have some Greek artwork there. And we are now leaving. There is the view of Ponta Delgada in the background. And we are off to our next island. Good morning, everyone, and what a pleasant surprise this was this morning to wake up to this beautiful view here of Funchal, which is on the Portuguese island of Madeira, and it has a very unique landscape, and in a way it kind of reminds me a little bit of Southern California, just how you have the coast and the mountains so close together. Though here it does look like it's a lot greener than at least most of California is. And anyhow, I'm just getting ready for the day to go do some exploring on Funchal. So let's get started. Hello again, everyone. I'm now in downtown Funchal, and on this stop we are only here for part of the day until about 4:30 p.m. or so. So I really didn't have a whole lot of time, but anyhow, we are right on the coast, and that would be the Norwegian Getaway parked at the dock. And though I really didn't have a whole lot of time, I did find some pretty interesting places, and also some of the narrowest streets that I've ever seen, and those will be coming up later. And this is kind of right next to the Old Town Business District, where they have a lot of shopping and restaurants. And then this area right in here is kind of this large courtyard area, and it looks like it could also double as maybe a concert stage or a theater area. And just some interesting background on the city. Funchal was founded in 1424 as a Portuguese colony, and the city was named after the fennel plant, which is found in abundance on the island. And the island itself is approximately 30 miles long and about 10 miles wide, and is located about 600 miles from the mainland of Portugal. So it is pretty far out here by itself. And Funchal is the largest city on the island, and it's home to about 105,000 people, while the entire island has about 250,000 or a quarter million. And just crossing the street here, also the island has a very mild Mediterranean climate with pretty steady year-round temperatures, and in the summertime it's in the 60s and 70s, and it doesn't really even cool down that much even in the winter time. And anyhow, just walking up to this ice cream and gelato store here, and they got all these different flavors, and the sign says one scoop is $2, or €2 I mean, which is about $2.40. And then this building coming up here on the right with the two police officers standing outside, that is the state legislative building. And I'm not really sure what the laws are here regarding filming in public. I know some countries can be pretty strict, so I really didn't want to stay in front of this building for too long. But it seems like most people here really weren't bothered by my camera. And then this other building on the left, that would be the Barcelo Funchal Old Town Hotel, and that is listed as a 5-star hotel, and the price for tonight is about $243, which might be a good deal for a 5-star hotel, but it is a bit more pricey. And here's this restaurant here, and it's called the Restaurant Central Commercial, and there you can get a veal chop with risotto for 26 euros, or a grilled grouper with potatoes and vegetables for 21 euros. And they have another restaurant here on the right as well. And though it's a little bit crowded around the menu, I was able to see that a personal goat cheese pizza is about 16 euros. And they also had crepes there with various fillings such as ice cream or banana for about 8 euros. And this other building on the right, this is a pretty interesting looking building, and this is the Funchal Cathedral, which is also known as the Cathedral of Our Lady of Assumption. And this is a Catholic church which was built in 1514, though construction started in 1493. So it actually took over 2 decades to build, and that would make this church over 500 years old, which is actually rather remarkable considering what good condition the building is in. And also keep in mind that this was built long before modern machinery or technology, so everything of course was all done by hand. And the church actually looks even bigger from the inside than it does from the outside, with these very nice high vaulted ceilings. And even today many modern buildings are not built like this, just because of the extra cost. And it also has nice stained glass windows and the nicely polished wooden benches. And it just makes me think what it must have been like attending Sunday church service here over 500 years ago, and how much different life was back then, how much more isolated the island was before the internet and telephone, and what a small little community they must have had here. And though I don't know how friendly people of the city were back then, I do know that Funchal was the subject of several pirate raids and invasions during the 16th and 17th centuries, and they actually had a rather large attack in September of 1566, when 1,200 Frenchmen on 3 ships attacked Funchal and several of the neighboring islands. And it said that even though the citizens of Funchal had prior warning that an invasion of neighboring islands was occurring. And here's just a little cafe that I'm walking up to, and they kind of have an interesting menu. You can get a grilled sandwich with garlic butter, cheese, and bacon for 3 euros, or an egg and cream custard pie, which it basically looks like a pie with a egg and cream filling, for about 2.5 euros, which is about $3. And then here's this other restaurant. It's looks like a espresso bar here, and they have a espresso or coffee is 1.8 euros. And anyhow, getting back to my story, so even though the citizens of Funchal, they knew that the French were in the area and that they too were probably going to be invaded, they still were not able to repel an invasion force of 800 French in September of 1566. And it said that the French encountered little resistance on the island, and that they occupied and looted Funchal for 15 days. And then this building here on the right would be the Santander Bank, and they're actually based out of Boston, Massachusetts, and they got branches all over the place. And then this is the Black Pearl Restaurant, And the specials for today are a black pearl prego sandwich with fries for 6.8 euros. And I believe a prego sandwich is basically just a beef sandwich with some extras such as cheese, onions, tomatoes, and various garlics. And also the beef slices are very thinly cut. And you can also get a more traditional club sandwich there for about 6 euros. And also notice that this building that I'm walking next to right now has got some pretty heavy duty window coverings. Not sure if that's because maybe at one time it was kind of a high crime area, or if it still is. It seems like it is a pretty safe area. And just getting back to the story about the French raid in 1566. Sorry that it's coming in so many different parts, but just trying to balance everything out. But it really wasn't clear from the record whether the French government, if they were ever held responsible, or even if there was anything that the Portuguese could have done at the time. And it said in the following year of 1567, the Portuguese sent out a special group of government officials to the island to plan the building of more forts to protect the city from future invasions. And there would be smaller raids in the following years by pirates, and some of which resulted in kidnappings of Portuguese citizens. And interrupting one more time, this would be another church building, and that would be the Church of St. John the Evangelist. And then this building that's directly ahead would be the Funchal City Hall building. And I also believe that the Catholic Church back there, that building is also shared with the College of Funchal. So they have a college inside of the building as well as a church. And now just crossing the street, and this building that's coming up, it does look a little bit more modern than those other buildings. And this would be the criminal court building, and it's pretty much where you don't want to wind up on your vacation. But luckily, Funchal, like most cities in Portugal, appears to be relatively safe. And just some background information about the crime in Portugal. Overall, the incarceration rate in the entire country of Portugal is about 1/4 that of the US, with only about 120 people per 100,000 are currently in jail or in prison in Portugal versus over 500 people per 100,000 in the US. So the incarceration rate in the US is about 4 times as high as it is in Portugal. And no one really knows why the US has such a high incarceration rate. And to just put that into perspective, the United States has about 1.6 million people who are currently in jail or in prison, while Portugal only has about 12,000 people in prison for the entire country. So that's a huge difference. And but you also have to keep in mind that Portugal is a much smaller country with a population of about 12 million people versus over 300 million people in the United States. And just getting back to the tour here, this is a rather large wash area that they have, and it probably has to be this big just to handle all the runoff from the mountains when it rains, so they don't have any flooding. And just crossing the street, and I do see there's a Coldwell Banker here, and I'm just going to check out some of the properties for sale, and these are rather expensive. On this side they have homes over 1 million euros, and then over here on this other side they do have some cheaper condos for about 90,000 euros and up, which is about a little over $100,000. But the average price of a home in Funchal is about 400,000 euros, which would be about $500,000, and that's still quite a bit of money when you consider that the average pay in Funchal is rather low, or just in Portugal itself. The average pay in Portugal is about 1,700 euros per month. And this next business is a gelato shop, and here they have all the different flavors, and one scoop of gelato is 2.1 euros. And then just outside here they have all the taxis lined up, and surprisingly they do not have Uber here any longer. Uber was here, but they lost their license to operate, and all the licensing stuff for taxis and ride shares, that's controlled by the government. And here's a farmer's market, and those cherries that were there are 6 euros per kilogram, so that would be about $3 per pound. And anyhow, just getting back to the cost of living out here and the average wages. So if the average person makes about 1,700 euros per month, that would suggest that, much like the United States, there is a large wealth gap here. And then I'm just coming up to another restaurant, and this is a sandwich shop, and they sell various kinds of Prego sandwiches with extras such as bacon, cheese, and egg for about 3 euros each. And this is another gelato shop, and they have some interesting flavors such as Caramella and Oreo for 4 euros per cone, and they also sold cream pies there for 1.5 euros. And then the next restaurant coming up is a sandwich and custard shop. So besides sandwiches, they sell these custards, which are basically like a baked pastry with egg or some other filling such as bacon or cheese inside. And the custards are 1.5 euros each. And just getting back to what I was talking about earlier about the high cost of living here and the relatively low pay, and how it appears that there is a wealth gap here as there is in the United States. Though that may be true, it does seem like they're handling the situation a lot better here, just because there's so many fewer homeless people here than in the United States. And that could be because of a number of reasons. One, of course, is the population of Portugal is much smaller, but even when you do take that into account, I think overall they just have better social programs here, and that could be too because they are helped quite a bit by basically tourism. Each year about 20 million people visit Portugal, and that makes up for about 18% of their GDP, which is quite a bit. So they get the boost from tourism and all the associated taxes from that, and that helps them basically balance their budget and pay for generous social programs. And then just getting back to the tour, here's another custard shop, and they sell custards for 1.5 euros each, or a box of half a dozen for 6 euros. And again, a custard is a baked or fried pastry with something inside of it. Those had egg, and then they could also have other extras such as bacon or cheese inside of them as well. And just getting back to some of the social programs that they have here in Portugal that they do not have in the United States. One of them is called the Guaranteed Income Measure, and basically what that does is it guarantees every Portuguese citizen a basic level of income, and programs like that probably explain why there's far fewer homeless people here in Portugal than there are in the US, where you might get a situation where if someone loses their job and once their unemployment runs out, then it's possible that they could wind up homeless, whereas here in Portugal, that same person, they would be guaranteed a certain basic level of income. And programs like that would basically prevent a person from becoming homeless in the first place. And the only similar programs in the US to the guaranteed income maybe might be welfare, but of course most welfare programs in the U.S. are very limited, and they're typically only for people with children. Anyhow, I'm just walking into this market called the Mercado dos Labradores, and that translates as farmers market. And they have all these fruit and vegetable stands set up here. And some of the prices, the grapes that I can see are about €4 per kilogram, which is about $2 per pound. And then they have some tomatoes that are €2 per kilogram, which is about $1 per pound. And the cheapest fruit that I could see back there were the bananas, which were about €1 per kilogram, which is about 50 cents per pound. And just in this next room here, they have a fish market, and I was actually able to smell it. I saw it, and they have these fish on ice, I believe red snapper and some sea bass. And then those other fish there were just kind of sitting out there, and hopefully they haven't been out there for too long. And just walking outside, directly across the street, they have a bar, and I believe the other one's also a bar, so 2 bars across the street. And then as I'm walking along here, something kind of rather unusual happens just as I'm about to cross this street. This person in the shorts and the backpack here, he walks up to this guy, and then he slaps him, and not really sure what's going on there. And then I hear people across the street, they were yelling something, and hopefully they were trying to help the other person, though I really couldn't tell because it was in a foreign language. And prior to this, I thought that Funchal was pretty safe, but I could be wrong about that. Anyhow, continuing on, here's another restaurant, and they have an interesting menu. You can get a grilled octopus with roasted potatoes for €18, or a fried prawn with garlic for €7. And prawns are basically similar to shrimp. And this next street here that I'm just walking, I just turned on. This is probably one of the narrowest streets that I've been on, and there are restaurants on both sides of the street, and there's not a whole lot of room for much of anything. Just kind of a narrow pathway to walk in between the tables. And they also have a couple of hotels and a hostel in this area as well. And this first restaurant, they have a plate of risotto with octopus for €16. And then they have another restaurant here, and there's also a hotel off to the left, and that is the Apartments Santa Maria. And there at the apartments, you can get a 1-bedroom apartment for tonight, and that costs about $150 per night on booking.com. And here are just some more restaurants, and again, it's also a very narrow street. And at this restaurant, you can get a steak skewer and fish platter for 2 for €29, or a blackened scabbard fish with fried banana and passion fruit for €22. And overall, the prices seem to be pretty reasonable here. They look to average about maybe $20 per person. And I actually haven't eaten at any of the restaurants here, but they do look good, though I don't really think you could find much better food than what we already have at the Norwegian Getaway. And I had a pretty big breakfast this morning, and they pretty much had everything at the buffet. You can get fresh fruits and all kinds of breakfast items. They have yogurt parfaits, breakfast cereals, and the list goes on and on. They have pancakes, waffles, eggs, both hard-boiled and scrambled, sausage, bacon, more traditional breakfast. And they also have a omelet station where you could order your omelet just specially for you. And even that is just probably a partial list of all the food they have on the buffet. The ship is just really like a giant floating restaurant. and of course the buffet is free for everyone. So I guess in some ways they do kind of spoil your appetite when we make stops like this, though it shouldn't be too big of a deal because we're going to be in Lisbon pretty soon, and that's on the mainland of Portugal, and that's the capital of Portugal, and we'll be there in about 2 more days. So I'll still have plenty of time to try out the local foods. And from what I understand, when we make port stops like this, the cruise company will buy some of the local produce, like the last time they bought a lot of fruits and vegetables. And anyhow, just getting back to the tour, the building on the left, that would be the Santa Maria Hostel, and that is currently $63 per night. And overall, they seem to have a pretty good customer reviews online. Though the thing with hostels is besides the business itself, I guess a lot will depend on who you're sharing the room with. And though it's probably also possible that some hostels you can rent a private room, so I guess some do operate more as a hotel. But I've never stayed at a hostel before, and I actually might start looking into hostels just while I'm here, because the price of hotels is rather expensive here. I'd say right now they're around $150, $200 per night, so they are kind of expensive. And there's another expensive hotel just coming up, and the building off to the left, that would be the Hotel Porto Santa Maria, and that is listed as a 4-star hotel, and that is currently $325 per night, which is one of the more expensive hotels here in the city. And it probably is so expensive because we are pretty much right on the beach here. They have this little park area, and then off over to the right, they also have the Funchal cable car lift, and it's kind of hard to see it with all those trees there, but they have this station just at the base here, that glass building. That would be where people catch the cable car, and that will take you all the way to the top of the mountain. And the cost to do that is 18 euros per person, and it's about a 15 to 20 minute cable car ride to the top of the 3,000-foot mountain that we are right next to. And if you do want to take the cable car, you probably should be prepared for some crowds and to wait in line for about 10 to 15 minutes because it is kind of busy. And you should also keep in mind that those cable cars pretty much work like a ski lift, where you could be sharing the same car with 2 to 3 other people. And there is the Norwegian Getaway parked at the dock off in the distance. And this is the beach coastal area right here. And it's kind of neat how they have this walkway. And this parallels right in front of the Hotel Porto Santa Maria. And then this pathway also leads to one of the forts, which was built following the devastating raids by the French in 1566. And I would also like to add a few more interesting points about the island that I might have missed so far. At one time, they were a large producer and exporter of sugarcane, which they were able to do with the assistance of slave labor. And in the 1600s, they switched from growing sugar to grapes because it was no longer economical for them to produce sugar, as a cheaper form of sugar was being grown out of South America, and probably on a much larger scale than they were able to do on this island. And I also believe that the sugar raised in South America was also grown with slave labor as well. And anyhow, they switched from sugar to grapes, and with grapes they also produced wine, which they still continue to do today. Though now I believe tourism is much bigger than either one of those industries has ever been. And also, some famous residents of Funchal were Christopher Columbus, who was one of the earlier residents of the city of Funchal in the 1400s. And of course, back then, this part of the Atlantic was new to everyone, even for the Portuguese. So Christopher Columbus did get an early start at exploring and discovering new frontiers, and he would later go on to discover the Americas in 1492. And much like most Portuguese are, Christopher Columbus was a Roman Catholic, and even today, about 80% of Portuguese are Catholic, and another maybe 15% or so are non-religious. So that really doesn't leave a whole lot of room for other religions. There's maybe a small percentage of Protestants in Portugal, maybe 2-3%. And as far as Jewish or Muslim, there's maybe a very small handful. So it is a very Catholic state. And just getting back to the tour, I'm still walking up to the fort, and this area right in here looks to be parking for the Hotel Porto Santa Maria. And it's taking me a little bit longer than I thought it would to get to this area, and that could be because you kind of start climbing these hills in here, and they actually get pretty steep, especially right as you get to the fort right in here. And you also have to be pretty careful in this area because the streets also get really narrow. And then there's times when you kind of come up to these curves, and just have to keep in mind that you do share the streets with cars. And this would be the fort. It's called Fort Tiago, and this was one of several forts that was built following the devastating French raid of 1566. And I believe this was built the following year in 1567, or at least construction was started, and it looks like they're doing some more construction on the building, and they do have most of it closed off, but they had these really neat classic cars just parked here in front, and I believe those are part of the museum that they have here. And I don't really know what kind of cars these are, so if you happen to know, just let me know in the comments below. And I don't think that Portugal has its own auto industry. There might be foreign companies that do produce cars in Portugal, but I don't believe that there is a Portuguese car like how Germany has their own auto industry, or the US has its own auto industry. I could be wrong about that. And anyway, I'm just going to walk up to this neighborhood just right up above here, and it's a pretty interesting area, though it's rather a steep climb just going up this hill, and there's just some neat old houses up here, and they also have a couple restaurants and cafes, and it's a really good viewing area of the beach down below. And of course, like much of the island, the parking situation here is kind of difficult, and in general, I don't really think I'd want to be driving around streets like this. And even if you're just parking your car here, I would be kind of worried about my car because there's really not a whole lot of room, and it seems like your car could get dented and scratched up pretty easily here. But I guess if you live on this island in this part of the city, you probably don't have much of a choice, either drive or walk. And of course, back when these houses were built hundreds of years ago, they really didn't have the concept of garages, even if there was room, which on this street there certainly isn't. And this house here looks even older than a few hundred years old, and some of them kind of are in poor condition. And if I had more time, it would even be interesting to go inside of one of these older buildings just to see what it's like. And I'm sure there's some that are quite fixed up inside, but there's others that it doesn't look like anyone's living in them, so it's kind of a hit and miss. And just a few other interesting facts about Portugal that I would like to add. Since 2002, the use of drugs, including hard drugs, has been decriminalized. Even drugs such as cocaine or heroin have been decriminalized. And though it's still illegal to sell such drugs, it is not a punishable offense to have less than 10 days worth of supply of any hard drug. And that is certainly much different than most other countries. And this building right here, this would be another Catholic church. And then we're at the top of this hill right here. And they have this really good viewing area. People are just sitting here on this ledge, which is actually kind of crazy because it's a really, really long way down. I'd say we're about 50, 60 feet up here. And you got a good view of the bay, and there might be the getaway in the background. And we are now leaving Funchal and off to our final destination, which is Lisbon, Portugal. Good morning, everyone. It is now day 13 of our cruise, and we just arrived in Lisbon, Portugal this morning, and this would mark the completion of our 13-day voyage. And most people will probably be getting off here. We have until 8 a.m. this morning to deboard the ship, so basically 1 hour. Just going to grab breakfast really quick, and myself and most other people aboard will be getting off here. And then the crew members, they have a couple hours to get the ship ready for the next set of passengers, and I believe the getaway is headed to Spain after this. So this will mark the completion of our cruise, and thank you for watching.